Hello, sisters. Welcome to the Sacred Medicine Podcast, weaving powerful, soulful practices into functional medicine. Step into this beautiful space of devotion and explore everything from nurturing foods, rituals, sexuality, and awakening your innate sensuality. It is time to own your radiance. This is the Sacred Medicine Podcast. Hello and welcome back to another week of the Sacred Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Margaret Romero, and this week's guest is Ashley Hannawacker. She is the author of Magnetic Confidence, Attract the Results, Relationships, and Life You Want. So I follow Ashley on Instagram. Let me tell you, first of all, this girl has the body that is amazing. And I did take one of her free classes last year. And I knew that she came out with this book. So one, I wanted to talk to her all about the book. And I also wanted to talk to her about her workout regimen and what she does and how she eats and all of that good stuff. I just needed to know. So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about, why she even wrote this book. And then we talk about some of the tools that she uses, that she has found that really attracts relationships in the life that you really want. And you really want to listen in on this. And then we talk about how often she works out and how she eats, and that she does some fasting, intermittent fasting. So we talk about how she does that, how often she does that, and what that looks like for her. Because I think that she's really a really great person to sort of model. Like she said, she doesn't even run, which I don't particularly like running, but I feel like, I need to do cardio. She doesn't run at all. And she is in great freaking shape. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and on to the show. This week's guest is Ashley Hannawacker, and she is the author of Magnetic Confidence, Attract the Results, Relationships, and Life You Want. What an awesome, awesome title. I love this.
Thank you.
So welcome to the show, Ashley.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here and get into little details that whatever you want to talk about. So I'm here.
Yeah, so I learned about you. I actually somehow, I'm not sure through who or how, but I found you on Instagram, and I definitely follow you and love your workouts. I mean, I'm like, ooh, that's a good one. And I'll try it at the gym. So just know that the stuff that you put out there, I'm sure a lot of people definitely kind of curate their gym exercises or even home exercises with some of the things that you do. So I just wanted to let people know out there that if you're not actually following Ashley just yet, it's actually Han, Hanne, on Instagram.
Oh, it's actually just Hann.
Oh, Hann. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That to definitely follow her if you are in need of some different types of exercises or movements in the gym or at home or some workouts. And I wanted to have you on today because one, I wanted to definitely talk about your exercise routine, your regimen, and some of the things that you eat. But I also want to talk about your book because I love this, Attract the Results, Relationships, and Life That You Want. And so let's start there. What showed up in your life that had you create this book?
Yeah. So honestly, I have always wanted to write a book. And I know a lot of people that have had that dream all their lives too. It's just one of those things, right, that you're like, oh, it would be so cool to write a book. And I have a message I want to share. And it's a matter of sitting down and getting it done. I attended a really great seminar/workshop that I would say was the kick in the butt that I needed. Which was perfect and divine the way that I ended up there. It was so cool. But that was kind of what sparked me to actually write it. Now, my message is a lot of it in there is, and I don't know if you've read the whole book, but it talks about my story, which I believe is one that a lot of women can relate to. And it's all around self-worth and that, not enough conversation that many of us have. And so it talks about my journey through that and going from, where I was before, which was, in a very sad place, an insecure place, lack of self-worth, and the journey that I took, to get to where I am today. So my intention with the book was to share my story, but to connect with other women who have a similar story and are going through a similar journey and empower them to really own their worth and step into their power.
So great. And I think that a lot of us, including myself, there have definitely been times, moments, years in our lives that for one reason or another, we feel very disempowered. We feel not worth, or, like, oh, I can't get that job or that guy or that relationship or whatever it is, or not feeling like you're worthy enough to obtain it. So what are a couple of things that you did to kind of overcome that? Because that at times can be a very difficult thing to overcome.
Yeah, and I get that question a lot, actually. And what I always say, and I underline this in my book, is the best investment you can make is an investment in yourself. And in order for me to get where I am today and to have that transformation that I had, and that transformation I continue to have every day, is I continuously invest in myself. Mm-hmm. And what do I mean by that? Okay, I mean, it's not just, of course, investing in yourself and buying books and reading books. That's great. I'm a huge advocate of that. If you do follow me, I read every single morning. It's part of my morning ritual. It's great. However, a lot of people they don't prioritize really just digging deep and doing something very hands-on just for themselves. For some reason, it's maybe scary, or maybe for me, it was something that honestly I was just like, oh, I'll do it another time. Oh, I'll do it then. I'll do it, next year. You keep pushing it off. But what a lot of people aren't realizing when they do that is everything starts and ends with you in your life. You are the source of everything that is alive and real in your life right now. So a direct investment in you is going to have a ripple effect in your entire life, all of your results, your outcomes, your environment. So that was I would say the main thing is I did a few trainings. I've done workshops and trainings. I would say the most transformational one I did was hands down here in San Diego, called Ascension Leadership Academy. And it's basically a 4-month-long intensive training where you just roll up your sleeves and go deep and just focus on self-development and self-growth.
I love that. So true. There was a period of time in my life when I was going through this chronic illness. This was over 10 years ago. And that really shot down my self-esteem. Everything about what I believe, what I thought about myself really just plummeted. And I did invest in myself. The very first thing that I did, because I was in a really dark place and I didn't know how to get out of it. And I didn't feel that therapy was a thing for me, and it may work for some people, but I just didn't feel like that was something that I needed at the time. So I did invest in doing something called the School of the Womanly Arts. Have you heard of it?
I have not.
Oh, okay. So it's based out of New York City. And wow, because when I was going through this chronic illness, I had lost a lot of my hair. I'd gained weight. There was self-esteem issues big time. And I didn't know how to overcome that on my own. And so I joined the School of the Womanly Arts, and that was a 6-month program. I've been part of this community of women, sort of like a sisterhood, since 2009. And it was probably the best thing, hands down, that I've ever done for myself. Yes, it was an investment. Yes, it was thousands of dollars, but I felt like I have to get out of this rut. And the person that I was back before I joined is so different than the woman I am today. And definitely part of it is from going to that 6-month kind of quote unquote school for women. And it built me up in a way that I don't think therapy could have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is powerful. I'm definitely going to need to look into that.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, yeah, that sounds awesome. And that's the thing is there's so many out there, and I don't, one thing, if anyone listening is an analyzer like me, I'm an analyzer. I like to, research and all that stuff. Don't go into analysis paralysis because yes, there are a lot of options. If you feel called to a certain one or someone you trust recommends, that says, hey, you got to do this, and you trust them, you love them, they love you, go just take the leap of faith, just do it. Because that's another thing I'll get is because there are so many things out there. They'll say, oh, okay, I got to research. And before you know it, a whole year or two has gone by and they still haven't done it.
I know.
Right.
Exactly.
So just start somewhere, anywhere. It can be anything. All of these things are great. I mean, it sounds like you had an incredible experience. So did I. I mean, it just starts with taking that step of, okay, you know what? I was invited to go to this, or I felt a calling to do this one. I'm just going to jump in and do it. And the time is now.
Totally. And do you think that there's a difference between doing an online thing versus a live experiential one? Because for me,
110%.
mine was experiential.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 110%. Without a doubt, you got to have the hands on. It's so different. I mean, that goes with anything, to be honest. I mean, I'm not saying you can create impact and, have some enlightening experiences through an online course. That's totally possible. But if you want the more radical the transformation, the more hands-on it needs to be. So getting in there and doing the work and being in an environment where the energy is just, you know what I'm saying? It
totally.
It amplifies it.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I think that's definitely, that's a perfect first step. And I think, even that could be, if you had to do one thing, I think that would be extremely profound.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
And so tell me a little bit more. So you go to this thing and you attend, and it's how many months?
It was around 4 months.
Okay. And then did you just feel, after that, were you just sort of continuing to do other things and other kind of workshops or retreats?
Yep. Yes. And also volunteering. Like I would volunteer to go back in the experience as staff, which is a totally different level of transformation being on the other side, right? So you're facilitating breakthroughs and you're on the other side of it. And it actually is very, very powerful. I did that like 3 or 4 times. So I just kept going back and being in the environment and being in the energy and being of service to that community and to everyone in there. And obviously a lot of my friends and family ended up going after I did. So being there for them through their transformation, their experience was just like body chills constantly,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and that's the thing is, that kind of like what you did and what I did are both very deep, very experiential, super hands-on experiences. I recommend doing that kind of thing every 2 to 3 years, honestly. Mm-hmm. And then, but in the meanwhile, just still going, being of service is great. And also just doing any little workshops. I did a bunch of workshops, like one was called Grace, and it's for women, and they have that all over. And there's just a bunch to choose from, but it's just that constant investment in yourself, whether big or small, just making sure that you're doing the work constantly, because we can fall back into old patterns like that.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many different layers to us. So we could be like, oh, I'm really good at this. And then you just go for another retreat or a weekend seminar or whatever, and learn something else and implement it into your life. Just, there's always more to learn, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. And we're always evolving. So like right now, like back then that was what was that? 2 years ago. What's it 2? Yeah, 2 years ago that I was in ALA, that I did my 4-month journey, my experience. Well, I was in a totally different place then. So I'm sure that if I was to go back tomorrow, I would have just as powerful as experience, but have totally new breakthroughs, right? So it wouldn't be like I'm duplicating it. I mean, obviously, I'll know some of the exercises if I was to do the same one. So it'd be kind of cool to do something different. However, I'm going to have still just as powerful of an experience because I have evolved since then. So the breakthroughs I'm going to have are going to be completely different. Right.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And going back to what you were saying, that you were sort of helping to facilitate afterwards, I did as well for a few years with the same group. I went back to kind of help when there was, every year there's a new hundreds of women that come in as new students. And so I was there to help to sort of be one of on the team to just help things. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Behind the scenes type of thing.
So powerful.
Right. So, but it was also great to be in the room, to be able to experience the energy, just like what you were mentioning. And it's like you get reinfused with all of that.
Absolutely. And then seeing other, because we're all so connected, and I really truly believe in oneness. And when you see somebody in front of you having this incredible breakthrough, a lot of times we can connect with that, and then we kind of, as we're watching somebody else have their breakthrough, we're also kind of having our own breakthrough from just watching theirs.
Right.
So it's that whole feeling. That's why it's so powerful to be in that energy, because it's like, it's like popcorn. It's just, everything's just popping and everyone, it's just, the energy itself facilitates you. Right. So just being in that environment, whether you're the student or the staff, it's so powerful.
Yeah. So powerful. And so let's talk a little bit about relationships. What was happening in your life, like before the book and now post book?
Yeah. So in terms of personal relationships, so I would say, gosh, man, that's a really, I'm glad you asked that, because probably the biggest personal breakthrough I had was in authenticity. And it's so crazy because I resisted myself so much. And I just didn't like who I was. I didn't like myself. I didn't like anything about myself before I had gone on my journey. I really was in a dark place. And so it's funny how when we resist ourselves, we're going to show up inauthentic. Because why would we be authentic? Because when we're scared, people are going to reject us because we're rejecting ourselves, right? So my relationships were very surface. They were very inauthentic, and they weren't serving me at all. And I felt like it was almost, that feeling like it's just exhausting, where you feel like you've got to paint this face on and put this kind of mask and get geared up to put on a show. Basically, that's not who you are. And that's how I was being. I was not being myself, and I had really bad social anxiety. And so my relationships were just that. They were exactly what I was. They were fake. And that was a huge transformation in my life. Is now the relationships I have are so authentic, they're real, because I'm being real. That's why I say everything starts with you. If you're in a position where you want better relationships, you want more fulfilling relationships in your life, whether it's friendships, love relationships, business relationships, whatever it is, you have got to be the source of what you want in your life. It all starts with you. So if you're being, shady, inauthentic, fake, you are going to attract those people in your life, and those are going to be your relationships. Right?
Right.
So that's exactly, what I had before it. And it's looking back, it's actually cool to look back, because it's like, wow, those people, my tribe now is just so beautiful. And the women in my life are so real and there for me and raw. And I feel more connected than I've ever felt in my life.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. And give us like one or two tips. And I know that we just talked about, investing in yourself and, paying for a transformational, whether it's a weekend, a week, or what have you. Give us something else that so the listeners can maybe start doing or start thinking about doing.
Okay. So I would say, okay, a tip that you can do besides my number one tip is definitely to invest in yourself and step out of your comfort zone. Another tip is if you don't already have some form of meditation, and now this can be anything. For some people, it's sometimes for people, yoga or fitness or, there's lots of different ways you can meditate. It doesn't have to be that stereotypical sitting, humming and hawing, on the floor with your legs
Right.
crossed. It doesn't have to be that way. It totally can be. But have those moments with yourself. And if, I challenge listeners right now to, for the next 7 days, just 10 minutes a day at least with just you and you, just focus in, okay? Because there's so much, especially nowadays, there's so many distractions and so much going on in busy, busy, busy lives. So just take 10 minutes for you, where it's just you with you, and go inward. And pay attention to what's coming up for you in your life, and start asking questions. Start asking yourself questions and be ready to be real and raw with yourself. This is a huge thing that so many people just do not take the time to do. But I've had some of my biggest revelations when I just sit with myself, or I'm focused inward and I'm present with myself, and I'm asking myself, like, for example, if a feeling comes up that's something I don't want to feel, right? Whether it's anxiety, whether it's stress, maybe it's hurt, pain, I'll sit and I'll ask myself, okay, where is this coming from? What beliefs, what am I believing? What am I thinking that's having me feel this way? And it's so interesting what you'll find out and what you can uncover just by being present with yourself. So I would say, beyond the investment stuff, which I 100%, that's my number one tip. It's just having those moments, you with you, being super insanely present and asking yourself questions, taking inquiry, and really getting to know yourself.
Yeah, I think the word meditation scares a lot of people. And if you would just see it as like, even, I don't know, 10 minutes of some quiet time by yourself without any distractions or looking at your phone or answering a text or whatever, that just kind of connecting. I think it's the time when actually, so I have a ritual every morning, and that's definitely part of it. And that's the time when I get like thoughts and ideas. They kind of just come in naturally. I don't know if that happens to you at all.
Oh, yes.
Insight
Absolutely.
kind of they just drop in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's really important to give your life that time, rather than kind of rushing. We're so in the habit, especially, being in New York City, it's so easy to like, you're just rushing from one thing to another, to another, to another, to catching the train, to doing this. And so and then you've got earphones in, right? And so we're listening to a podcast, we're listening to music, we're listening to whatever. And there's hardly ever any time that we give ourselves to just be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really super important to do that. And I live about a little over an hour outside of the city. And so I used to live in Manhattan. And so I really get to have some really beautiful quiet time out here in nature, which is really nice. And I felt that when I was in the city, it was almost a little too much hecticness when I lived right in the middle of it all.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. And if you do live, for anyone who's listening that I myself also, I live in a busy city. I live right downtown. And if you're in that position too, I mean, it's even more important for you to, because there's always something going on, especially if you're smack in the city, just for you to, whether that's just being in your room, closing the door, lighting a candle, or, whatever it is, or going to a park nearby, and just having that moment with yourself in nature. It's so important to prioritize that, because it's really easy when you do live in the city to just be swept away by it,
Right. And, your Instagram, when you do your Insta stories of when you're like reading in the morning or whatever, the background looks so like a little sanctuary. It's like, even though you are in the middle of the city, you've created a space that is
Yeah.
very cozy and comfy, where you can just kind of quiet everything else and meditate or read and all of that.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because the one of the questions I get a lot too is how do you well, I get workout every day, but then also how do you read every day? Like I can't I can't do that. I just for some reason and I get that question a lot,
Do you?
and I do, and it's funny because but this is the answer to that. The answer to that question is create something that you look forward to. In the experience sense, the experiential sense. So create an experience around it, not just like because they're treating it as something to check off your to-do list. Like I don't look at my
Right.
morning ritual as, oh, morning ritual, check. No, it's
Right.
not, it's not a to-do. It is just a something that is such a crucial part of me and my life. I look forward to it. I mean, even when I'm traveling, all my friends know this about me. My girlfriend actually started do it with me. We're in Maui, and I created my experience there. I had my whole setup and I had everything, and she's
Exactly.
like, and she liked it, and she was like, "Well, I want to join you. This is awesome." And so she was joining me every morning because she also liked the experience that I created. Of course, she's one of my best friends, so my experience she loved too because we're very similar. But everyone's different, and the point is create something, an experience that totally you're like the night before you're already looking forward to it. Like that's how excited you are about it. That
And
will make sure it gets done.
yes, and I have found that. So I also, when I travel, I take the things that I need to have that little morning ritual happening. But let's say I don't know, in the middle of a airport what have you. Let's say it's a full day of travel. I actually feel like something is missing, like something
Hmm.
wasn't completed if I didn't do my ritual for that day. Do you feel the same?
Totally. Yep, absolutely. It's like that's why I always say morning rituals are so powerful because it sets the tone for your day. I mean, that's why it's great. I mean, I like nightly rituals too. It's a great way to end the day. But if you want to start the day with a very powerful trajectory, that's why you feel the difference, and that's why I feel the difference is because we're used to starting our day with that powerful trajectory and in that powerful momentum, and when that's not there we can feel that.
Right. Totally.
Hmm.
So, well, those are great. I loved all of those tips. Thank you so much. Let's talk a little bit about, I'm so curious about, and I know you work out. Tell me how many days a week you work out.
So typically I work out 6 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I'm also very good at allowing myself rest time if I need it, which I talk about a lot actually on my Instagram. Is I really encourage people to take rest days seriously because I've actually seriously injured myself by going in too soon. So, and also a lot of people don't know this, but the actual muscle building, like if you're trying to build muscle, the actual muscle building process takes place outside of the gym. So if you're not allowing your body that proper recovery and repair time, you're actually undercutting and you're actually doing the opposite of what you want to do. You're going to undercut your results.
Mm.
But typically, yes, I work out 6 days a week unless I have just a crazy, usually it's a lower body workout that I'm like, okay, I think today I'm going to take a day of rest and then I'll go back in the next day.
And do you do intermittent fasting?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yeah.
how many times a week do you do that?
I do that usually twice a week. And I'll do, for example, I'm actually fasting today. So I'll do it like a Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. I put a day break in between. And I usually do anywhere from uh, 18 to 24 hours in my fast.
And what are you consuming? Anything or just
Tea. Right now, I'm actually drinking tea. So I drink a ton of non-caffeinated. It's important,
mhm.
underline non-caffeinated, because the last thing you want is to be all jacked up on
Right.
caffeine when you're fasting.
Right.
Um, but I allow myself 1 cup of coffee in the morning, And then, so after the coffee, I don't let myself drink any more than 1 cup of coffee just because I kind of get jittery when I'm fasting if I have too much caffeine. I tried that once. I tried having 2 cups and it was like, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
So I have 1 cup of coffee and then a bunch of non-caffeinated tea and obviously a ton of water.
And what do you do when you start feeling hungry, or do you not feel that anymore?
Honestly, it's just the last 2 hours for me. The last 2 hours are probably when I feel that hunger, kind of like, oh, I'm starting to get hungry and I'm excited to eat.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, what helps a lot is water and tea and if you read up on this too, consuming a ton of water it'll make you feel full. So if you start to have cravings, just right in that moment, go chug a full glass of water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So that's what I do. And yeah, I always tell people like it's actually a lot easier than you think because I have some friends who are asking me about it and even followers are asking me, I'm scared. They're like, I'm scared to do it because I think it's going to be really hard. Okay. So right away I say, okay, well, don't say you think it's going to be hard because then it probably will be.
Right.
So you got to shift your mindset around it, believe in yourself. And 2, it's actually a lot easier than you think. So it's just, it's different, but it flies by and you feel a lot of energy. Like I feel a lot of natural energy whenever I fast. And I actually feel more energized on the days I fast than the days I don't, which I thought was going to be the total opposite, right? I thought I was going to feel like drained and starving, but I actually feel great. I feel energized. It's already, 12:30 now, and I feel great. So.
And then great. And so what the days that you are eating, then you're not doing the fasting. Do you follow like a paleo diet, or do you do keto or anything in particular? Or are you gluten free or anything like that?
Nope. I do what I like to call intuitive eating. And
Okay.
I actually talk about this a lot. But I have also some close friends of mine who have been through the same thing. But dieting can become, if you do diet, I'm not saying that dieting is wrong, bad, or anything like that. Just the mindset around it really, really gets to be healthy because so many people will diet and it becomes like more of a restriction and a burden, and it's actually becomes sort of an obsession.
Right.
And it's an unhealthy relation. Then you start to develop an unhealthy relationship with food and yourself.
Yeah.
And so I think what the most empowering diet, if you want to put it that way, the most empowering diet is the diet where you just trust yourself to make the right decisions for you, right? And for me, I'm not going to say there's times where, I definitely have moments where I let myself eat, candy or, whatever. It's fine. It's life. You are human. You can enjoy those things from time to time, all in moderation, of course. But the important thing is to just really make sure that whatever you decide to do, whether that's a diet, intuitive eating, intermittent fasting, anything at all, just make sure that your mindset around it is a healthy one and that you're not creating a very destructive relationship with food, because that can lead to just, again, bad, sort of internal conversations are happening, and it's not going to set you on the right path. So.
Okay. Yeah. No, I totally love that. So what would you say your diet consists mostly of?
I like food. I actually really do like foods that are high in protein. I eat meat. I actually don't, I'm not allergic to anything. It actually was. I used to be lactose intolerant, and I beat it. I like to say, because I was like, there's no way because I love cheese.
Yeah.
And so I'm a foodie. Like I am a real foodie. So I allow myself to, like once a week, I like to go out and just have a really nice meal at one of my favorite restaurants. And I love, pastas and things like that. But like I say, it's all in moderation. I don't believe in robbing yourself of the things that you love.
Right.
But at the same time, if you do choose to eat it, don't guilt yourself for it later.
Right.
Know? Just own
Exactly.
it. Just own it. I chose to eat that. It was great and have a great mindset around it. And actually, that does so much good for your body because those negative thoughts and guilt just turn it into toxic waste in your body. And you don't want that. So, but yeah, so typically my diet consists of I like chicken. I love actually love vegetables too. Broccoli. The other day I snack. One of my favorite snacks is I switch back and forth between pita chips and hummus or there's like these carrot chips. They're like sliced carrot chips and hummus. That's like one of my favorite snacks. I just love it.
That sounds good.
So yeah, and I actually, if you want to know, during the week, when I'm having a normal day and I'm not fasting, I do little meals throughout the day. Honestly, that's how I do. I just have like little, like I'll have an apple. My favorite. Oh my gosh, you have to try this if you haven't tried it. It's Fuji apples with, it has to be Fuji though. Fuji apple with, it's called Barney's butter, I think. Barney's butter. It's almond butter, but it tastes, like how some almond butter, it's like, ugh, this is too almond. It doesn't have much flavor. And it's like not as satisfying as like peanut butter,
Yeah.
But this one is good. I'm telling you. And you eat it with the Fuji apples, dip it. Oh my gosh. That's like one of my favorite snacks.
God.
So
I have to find this. Barney's butter.
Oh, you absolutely. It's so good.
Well, I definitely have to try that. Okay, so you do sort of smaller meals. You don't do like a big lunch and then a smaller dinner, or
no, I do small during the week, and also because I work from home, so I'll just make like a bunch of snacks throughout the day. So that's what I do, and then on the weekends, though, yes, I love to, like I said, usually it's a Friday or a Saturday, I'll go out to one of my favorite restaurants or have a bigger meal.
Oh, okay. And do you also cook? Do you cook at home a bunch, would you say?
I love cooking, but the problem is I rarely cook for myself. I love to cook for other people. So if I cook something, I'll always invite a friend over, or I don't like to cook a big meal for myself. I used to meal prep, actually. I used to cook big meals and then just put them in containers in the fridge, and just that way I didn't have to think about it for the rest of the week. And I actually really did like that.
Yeah.
I use the crock pot a lot. But yeah, right now, and one thing I love, which I was going to post this on my story, but I totally didn't because I just ended up scarfing down the whole thing. But I made protein pancakes. They're gluten-free. And I made gluten-free protein pancakes. I just put some of the protein powder, and it's like this really great protein powder. It's called Naked. I think it's called Naked Protein. And I put that in, and I put bananas and blueberries, and I made eggs. And that I love. I'll cook breakfast for myself any day because it's actually my favorite meal.
Oh yeah, mine too. Love that.
Yeah.
And so if there was someone who wanted to, I don't know, lose some weight, intermittent fasting, would you recommend them starting there? Would you recommend them just kind of decreasing their intake of calories, or what would be a couple of your recommendations?
Well, there's a few things, and everyone's different. But I would say yes on the intermittent fasting question. It's proven to help with weight loss if you do it right, obviously. So, for example, there's a lot of research that shows that 18 to 24 hours is sort of the sweet spot for weight loss. And you can find some research, some really good articles about that online that can kind of explain why. Mm-hmm. So yes, intermittent fasting is great for weight loss, among a ton of other amazing benefits. And in terms of, what was your other question of, so yeah, if you're exercising and wanting to have a diet that complements your weight loss goals, then just make sure you're at a caloric deficit, so that, and you know what that means, right? So you're consuming less calories than you're burning every day. That's also, I know, a couple, I I personally don't do that because I'm more out of like a maintenance and building is where I constantly go back and forth between. But I've heard and I've seen from a lot of my, my network of connections that are all in like fitness and health and everything that they all do that and they love that and they've seen results through that. So that definitely works too. But I'm a huge, huge advocate of just creating a lifestyle around your goal. So it doesn't even have to be like some people really don't enjoy exercising, right? Like they're like, oh, I really just going to the gym is such a chore and I hate it and I really don't enjoy it. Okay, so create something that you enjoy that supports your goal. So it doesn't need to be a certain way. Like you don't need to do it the way I'm doing it. Right. You can, maybe you love being in nature and outdoors. Well, then make a commitment to hike every morning or every other morning. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different ways you can do it. But my advice when it comes to weight loss is create a lifestyle that, and like we talked about earlier, an experience, right? That you can look forward to and a healthy one that supports who you are, what you enjoy, and doesn't put you in a guilty sort of like obligatory relationship with yourself and your diet or your exercise routine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it's important because if not, then if you hate the gym, find
then
something
don't
else
go to the
do.
gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you can work out from home or you can maybe take a class. I know one of my girlfriends she just does not like your typical gym workout, which is something that I love, by the way, but she's complete opposite, but she loves classes. She's a super extrovert and she loves to just any class. She just loves a booty bar, yoga, hip hop cardio, any class she's in it. Right. So if that's that, and again, everyone's different, but it's like, you don't need there's no right or wrong way. There's your way. And you can figure out a way that is totally in alignment with you, your purpose, your goals, and who you are. And that's not something that's like a total drag every day for you to do.
Totally. And also like weight training as well. So would you say just as important as like a cardio, or would you say more important?
More. Because, and here's the thing, if you want cardio, then just do a circuit in your weight training, because this is the number one. Actually did a video on myth busting, but a lot of people think that if you want to lose weight, do cardio. The problem with cardio is, and only doing cardio, is cardio actually burns muscle and fat, both. Okay. Whereas, which is why a lot of people who only do cardio, you'll see like they're in shape, but they're kind of that like a skinny fat, like they don't have a lot of muscle definition. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if you want, and that's the thing, a lot of women are like, well, I don't want to lift too much because I don't want to bulk up. Like I heard this so much. Right. But it's actually, that's not true. Everybody's body's different. And some people are actually built that way already. Okay. But most of us, we're women. That's not our physiology. We're not going to bulk up. We'd have to be a man. You know what I'm saying? Right. So just trust that you're not going to bulk up. It's actually, you're burning so much more when you're lifting weights than if you're just running on a cardio machine. And also you're only burning fat. You're not burning muscle. So you don't have to worry about losing definition, Oh,
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And circuit training is really, really great because it's, and by circuits is what I mean by that is, so you could do a full body circuit would be like push-ups, going from, push-ups, or if we're doing weights, so weightlifting would be like a bicep curl to a squat. Then the third exercise would be, say, a lunge. Okay, so that's 3 exercises, and then you go from one to the other without any breaks in between, and repeat that 3 to 4 times. Right, so you're repeating the sequence, and that's a circuit. And what that does, and you obviously limit rest time in between sets. And what that does is it keeps your heart rate up because you're moving. A lot of people, like I see women who are just sitting at a machine, like they'll do, for example, at the leg curl machine, right? They'll like do one, a reps of 12, and then they'll sit and wait and wait and wait, and then do the second set, and I'm like, in the meantime, you can still let that part of your body rest because you can work a different part, you know?
Right.
So
That's a good,
that keeps your heart
yeah.
rate up. Hmm.
Yeah. That makes total sense.
Yeah. So if that's, and I 100% recommend that way. And also running, I'm not a huge, this is just me. Okay. I'm not a runner at all. I was actually featured in Shape magazine about like, cause I've never never run a mile in my life. Like I literally have not run a mile in my life. I hate running. And the thing about it too, is it's also very, very hard on your joints. I know a lot of people really enjoy running. So that's fine. Just really be careful or wear some kind of shoes with added support, just something to help you in your knees and your joints because it can be it's a very high impact thing to do, especially if you're running on pavement. So if you don't enjoy running, honestly, you don't need to do it. I walk high incline every morning before I start my workouts to get my heart rate up and to kind of warm myself up. And that's actually a really great fat burning and just a great way to get your heart rate up without sacrificing your joints, you know?
How fast are you going and what's the incline at?
20%. I always do 20%. And then I do around like 2.7, 2.8. So it's like a brisk walk. Basically.
Okay. Wow. I don't think I've ever had an incline that high.
Oh, I know. So you can build you can build up to it. You can start at like 15. A lot of machines go to 15. But the number one tip with that, if you do try that, or if anyone listening tries high incline walking, make sure you do not hold the handlebars. Do not touch that machine because that actually cuts your calorie burn by 50%. I can't tell you how many times I've seen girls in the gym or guys too. Guys do this all the time. They hold onto those handles and they lean back and they walk uphill.
Right.
And they don't realize, I'm like, you may as well just lower that incline or lower the speed so you can just do it without touching those handlebars because that literally cuts it in half by 50%.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, your calorie burn.
That's a great tip.
Yeah. And it takes practice, but you'll be able to do it. I mean, honestly, I would say by the third or fourth time, you'll be able to, you'll feel that difference. And, I used to have to hold the handlebars before I learned that it wasn't good to do that. So then I'll lower the incline a little bit and work my way up.
Yeah. Great. And so this has been so great. So eye-opening. I've also needed to hear about all of these tips. So that's awesome. How can the listeners reach you or find you?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram, ashley.han, Hann. That's my username. And then I also have a website, ashleyhan.com. I just started a YouTube channel. It's very new. It's been a request from my followers for quite a while now. But now that Instagram TV came out, I'm like, I'm probably going to be posting more in there, to be honest. So those are the main ways. I mean, honestly, where I'm at most of the time is Instagram. I do have a Facebook, but I definitely am on Instagram a lot more than Facebook these days.
Yeah. You're on Instagram every day, right?
Yep. Every day I'm on there. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. All right. Was there anything that we didn't touch upon or anything that you wanted to add?
I mean, no, I mean, the only thing I would say, I guess, is just, for those of you listening, if you have a goal, if you have a result that you really, really want, get really clear on why you want it, your deeper purpose. Don't allow yourself to have this surface purpose of, for example, I want to lose 10 pounds. That's a surface purpose. So really go deeper and figure out, okay, why do I want that? And that will help you so much moving forward with all of your goals, because when you have, and this why, this purpose gets to be, like I like to say, a why that makes you cry. Like really go there. And that will support you so much moving forward with your goals and with anything you want to accomplish in life. This isn't just fitness. I mean, this could be business. This could be any goal that you have. And secondly, know that you are worthy of it and believe that you're worthy of that result and that goal and whatever you want in your life, whatever you desire, because everything starts with you, and what you believe you're worthy of having, you will attract. So even if right now you start to experience self-doubt about a goal you have, really check in with yourself, and until you start to believe it, keep pressing it in, and keep repeating it to yourself. I am worthy of this. I get to have this because I am worthy of it. And you'll see, like, the magic really starts to unfold. So before I get too woo woo, that's the main thing I wanted to share. And I think everyone who listens to this podcast can relate to that feeling, right? That feeling of really wanting something and not knowing how to get it. And I'm telling you,
Yes.
that is a great place to start.
Awesome. Ashley, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your wisdom with my audience today. And also, tell me a little bit about your book. I think it's coming out. You said it's on Kindle right now on Amazon, Magnetic Confidence. Attract the results, relationships, and life you want. And it's also coming out on, is it hardcover or paperback?
Paperback.
When is that coming out?
So that is being sent into publishing for paperback by the end of the month. So I'm guessing it'll be available. I don't know how long Amazon takes with that. This is the first book I've ever published. So I'm guessing in August it'll be available in paperback. Oh,
great. All right. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much. So loved having you on. So loved connecting with you. And thanks for all the awesome tips.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I hope you love this conversation with Ashley. She's so down to earth, isn't she? And check her out on Instagram to learn more about her. And for all the show notes, head on over to margoromero.com/episode 87. And she also is coming out, Magnetic Confidence is coming out on paperback this month of August 2018. So make sure to check that out. And then she's also going to be putting out her new booty challenge. That's what I took last year. Listen, I highly recommend it. Let me tell you, it worked me out big time. So check that out. She may also be having an ab challenge. I'm not sure if it's a challenge, but she's got a booty and an ab class, or it's on video this time. Last time I took it, it wasn't on video, and now it is. So I can't wait to check out her new stuff, and head on over to the show notes. Hope you love this. I'll speak to you all in 2 weeks for another interview, and bye for now.